You're listening to Insight here on CapRadio. I'm your host, Vicki Gonzalez. All this week, we're recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day through conversations with Native American leaders in our area working to preserve tribal and Indigenous heritage. This morning, we're talking to Shelly Covert, a leader with the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe and executive director of the California Heritage Indigenous Research Project, or CHIRP. But leading the organization has not been easy. Shelly has been fighting for federal recognition for her tribe for many years, and she joins us now to tell us more about her struggle. It's also important to note CapRadio sits on the lands of the Nisenan and Miwok tribes. Welcome, Shelly.
Makani. Good morning, Vicki.
Good morning. First, tell us a little bit about your community. How many people belong to the Nevada City Nisenan Rancheria, and what are the Nisenan people's ancestral lands?
Well, I used to really obsess about this number of how many people we had in the tribe. It's landing below 150, and these are down from numbers of over 10,000 prior to the gold rush. And, Nisenan territory goes almost all the way down to the Cosumnes River. And there are separate Nisenan bands or branches, I guess you could say. The Nisenan language has 13 dialects, and every 20, 25 miles, you get different leaders, different holy people, governing their very specific territory and the resources within those territories. And I think our numbers are I think they're at like 146. And again, like a baby was born, I was like, yay, and then we've just, in the last 3 years, we've lost like that whole upper generation of our elders, my grandmother's generation, the 90 somethings. And so that's always, for any family, when you lose an elder like that, you're losing libraries of information, that deep connection back to, the actual culture that was here and thriving before the gold rush.
Mm. As we learned earlier this week when talking with Wilton Rancheria in Sacramento County, there are dozens of tribes throughout the state that are fighting to restore federal recognition, and it is an arduous process. Where are you in that process, and can you just tell us how long you've been fighting to win it back?
Yeah. Oh boy, as I get older, I just had a birthday a couple of days ago, and I think, as you get older, you start getting this different concept of time, and literally, I'm starting to now see the decades, clicking away. And we're actually a terminated tribe, so that we did hold federal recognition until 1964. 44 rancherias in California were all terminated during what they call the Rancheria Act of 1958. And most of them have been restored, that federal recognition. 41 were restored. So we're one of 3 that were actually congressionally terminated. The rest have been restored. And so we feel like we're in this little pot of, being overlooked, falling through the cracks over and over and over again. As the years seem to just compile, it becomes a generational issue that my mom worked on, that my grandfather, he was the one that told me about Nevada City Rancheria, and, our people are from here. This is our land. And I mean, it's really, really disheartening. I'm sorry, I'm speaking from home, so I have a loud dog here. If you hear strange noises in the background, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. We're used to
it. Thank you. Right, COVID. So, but it's just so incredibly, I can say unjust and unfair that the people who were so destroyed, the California genocide, the slavery of the people, the taking of the land, these are unceded, unpaid for, unsold lands. The tribe was federally recognized. Now it's terminated, and yet it's upon the people to restore these things. And because the tribes here were just destroyed so swiftly, I just keep finding it more and more absurd every year that it falls upon us to be the ones to reinstall and restore this history to the history books, because, where we live up in, we're in Nevada County, so it's gold country. It's like life began at the gold rush, and, the environmental destruction and the destruction of the people. It's just such a heavy load to bear, I guess. And I try not to sound like we're playing our fiddle, because I think that people are so proud and not looking to feel like they're a charity case, or, there's still this internal immense pride in culture and in restoring some kind of justice to the environment and the animals and those kind of things, that we all need air and clean water. And that, the absurdity that just all this fight falls to the tribal people is just over and over. As I get older, I just can't believe that that's even a thing. So it's been tough. It's hard.
Especially, you mentioned, you led our conversation by saying it used to be, well over 10,000, and now, it's now less than 150. But your tribe is also using an innovative way to bring in revenues for the Rancheria through the Ancestral Homelands Reciprocity Program. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, sure. We have this tribally guided nonprofit that was started, CHIRP. And I think we're just working it for all it's worth. If we were federally recognized, we would have access to the federal Indian programs, as they're called, which is housing, education, health. And so I'm working this little nonprofit to provide these things that federal programs could and would provide. A safety net, I like to call it, for the people, because there is none. There's such high rates of suicide and alcoholism and substance abuse, undereducation, all the things that not only comes with just poverty, but with this historical legacy of survivors that have experienced genocide. And even talking about the genocide in California is a new thing for us. Like, I didn't use that word before. I would always pat it with cultural genocide, trying to, be not shut out from conversations or get people's defenses up, because it isn't about blaming, it's about doing what's right. So I really feel like we're working this little nonprofit for all it's worth. The Ancestral Homelands Reciprocity Program is a way that people can give a voluntary, ongoing donation to our nonprofit that just goes into the general operating fund to mimic these. It seems kind of ridiculous sometimes, but to try to mimic what those federal programs would bring to the people. And it's been really successful. I think we're up to 260 or 270 individuals who contribute on a monthly basis. A lot of our local businesses are really setting a model and saying, yeah, we want to help. It was based on one of the tribes down in Southern California has a Shumi land tax, where people actually give this voluntary land tax to the tribe. Like, we give it to, the community, and we do our state taxes and all these things. And I think when people realize that, it's stolen land that was never paid for. You didn't steal it. I know, there are a lot of people who were not here that didn't do this, but the feeling and the understanding of the injustice that continues to roll forward every year really has opened people's hearts and their minds to understanding we don't want to keep lying to our children about this false history of California. Let's talk about what really happened. And then only then can you really move forward with plausible and concrete ways to help remedy this situation.
Shelly, thank you so much. It's just wonderful to hear that you have, a few hundred individual donations, and we do have a link on our website, on our Insight page at CapRadio.
Yay.
And that is Shelly Covert, a leader with the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe and executive director of the California Heritage Indigenous Research Project, also called CHIRP. You're listening to Insight here on CapRadio.